Virgo, welcome to your monthly horoscope for February 2024. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this horoscope, I will be walking you through each week of the month, giving you a really good understanding of the energy, major themes, and topics that you will be navigating for the month of February. So let's get right into it. So, I first just want to mention that coming into February, we have all planets direct. So, it is go time. We have so much supportive energy right now for implementing, creating, and building, especially with all planets direct. So we really want to start implementing whatever it is that we want to create for 2024. Now, we also have Pluto back in Aquarius, and you have Aquarius in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine. All your routines reside in the sixth house. Also, your nutrition habits, your health regimens, like everything, your work routine, your health routine, your nutrition habits, also pets are in the sixth house. Now, Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for 20 years. However, so Pluto entered Aquarius back in 2023 between March and June, giving us a little taste of what that Pluto and Aquarius energy is going to bring. But we're really going to get a feel for what Pluto and Aquarius is going to kind of bring us collectively and individually 2024, but especially the month of February, because we have all of these personal planets in Capricorn entering Aquarius and forming a conjunction to Pluto throughout the month of February. So we really want to be paying attention this month to what is showing up for us. And for you, you want to be paying attention to what is showing up for you around that sixth house. And not even the sixth house, because we also want to pay attention to, the rulers of the other houses. So, for example, when Mercury enters Aquarius and forms a conjunction to Pluto, Mercury being your chart ruler, this could be some type of transformation when it has to do with you and your direction. When Venus enters Aquarius and forms a conjunction to Pluto, that could have to do with your money and finances because Venus rules that second house. So, these conjunctions are not just going to affect the sixth house, but they can also, present themselves in these other areas of our life. So I will be getting into all of that. Now, coming into the month on the 1st, we have Mercury forming a sextile to Neptune. And I really love this because at this point, Mercury is still going to be in Capricorn. And as you can see, there's a lot of energy coming into February in Capricorn and Aquarius, which is your fifth house and your sixth house. So your fifth house represents creativity, children, romance, hobbies, interests. Everything you do for fun is in that fifth house. So Mercury being in that fifth house, forming a sextile to Neptune, I really love for you, Virgo, because this can be great for creative pursuits, even romantic connections, because Neptune is the co-ruler of your seventh house of relationships. So there could be something really beautiful showing up here around romantic connections. And because Mercury is in Capricorn, a very grounded energy, this is where we're not over idolizing or what's that word, romanticizing. I don't know why it sounds strange, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. The Capricorn energy is keeping us very grounded, so we don't have our head too much in the clouds. So I love this for putting our creativity on paper, putting our imagination on paper. On February 5th, we're going to have Mercury entering Aquarius and forming that conjunction to Pluto. So this is where there can be something, transforming for you. Pluto is the co-ruler of Scorpio, which is in your third house of your mindset, communication, your thought processing, also vehicles. We also have community and neighborhood in the third house, siblings, cousins, those are all third house themes and topics. So when Mercury forms a conjunction to Pluto, there could be something very transformational in these areas of life. And we want to keep that in mind as we have all those other conjunctions, that Pluto being that co-ruler of Scorpio in the third can also mean that these energies are presented through the third house. Now, also on the 5th, we have Venus forming a square to Chiron, and Venus naturally ruling relationships, self-love, self-worth, but also money and finances, especially for you because Venus rules that second house. When Venus squares Chiron, Chiron is the asteroid that rules, healing. Chiron is the wounded healer. So this is a trigger of wounds, vulnerabilities, and it could have to do with self-love, self-worth. It could have to do with money issues for you, Virgo. So there can be something triggered at this point. And the fact that it's happening on that Mercury conjunction to Pluto It could be even mindset around money. It could be mindset around yeah, like maybe you've had issues with money in the, I mean, you're Virgo rising, but I mean, it could show up in many forms. But no matter how it shows up for you, though, what I really want you to keep in mind is that when we have squares, yes, they can be challenging and sometimes, can bring delays with things. It could be a stop, a hold, or a block to something. But this really brings in, opportunity for growth. So always remember, whatever is presented with this is that there can be amazing opportunity for growth here once healed and kind of moved through. Now, we are also in this Saturn Jupiter sextile, which we've been in at this point for a few weeks. And Saturn is currently transiting your seventh house of relationships and one on one connections. So, Saturn is, really, especially opposing that first house. I find with Saturn opposition to the first in the seventh, that's where you're really becoming responsible and accountable for your part in relationships and one on one connections, like maybe where you get in your own way when it has to do with one on one connections, maybe where you can overthink, overanalyze, self sabotage. I mean, Saturn's really having you look at the one on one connections and relationships in your life while Saturn's transiting the seventh house and having you create healthy boundaries and also having you become accountable for your part in relationships, even if it means, really becoming accountable for your, toxic traits and behaviors. And so with Saturn sextile to Jupiter, I love this because it's bringing in this room for healthy growth in relationships and can also be shifting and changing your mindset around relationships in some way, having Jupiter in that ninth house of belief systems. Now, also on the 6th, we have Venus forming a T square to the nodes. And I'm going to touch on the nodes for a second because the nodes represent where we're having the eclipses. And so you have the north node transiting your eighth house and the south node transiting your second house. And so these areas of life are going through, really big changes this year. The eighth house represents, money coming in from outside resources, your partner's finances, psychological healing and transformation. Also, death and rebirth. Mental health is in the eighth house. And the second house is money, finances, and material possessions. So these areas are going through, a lot of changes. And the north node represents something new, a new direction that we're moving into. And the south node represents something that we're letting go or something we're releasing, possibly even too, something coming back from the past. So when we have these T squares to the nodes, which the nodes, representing a certain direction, this is where we can possibly be wanting to move in two directions at once. This can indicate, needing to make a choice, having to make a decision and wanting to do both, but that's where the T square comes in and there's tension here. It's like wanting to do both, but not being able to. So this is where there can be a choice here. And it could have to do with your finances because of Venus ruling that second house of money and finances. Venus also ruling, that ninth house of higher education, higher knowledge, belief systems, religion, philosophy. So there could be a choice that really needs to be made and something could come to a head at this point. Now, on February 7th, we will have Venus forming a trine to Uranus. And I really love this for like a beautiful, unexpected surprise. This could be financially because Venus rules your second house. This can also have to, again, do with belief systems because Uranus is in Taurus, transiting your ninth. And Uranus has been up there. Actually, Uranus has been in the ninth house since 2018, and I wouldn't be surprised if your belief systems have gone through, going through some type of an awakening in some way since then. But I love this because this could just be, something really beautiful, unexpected coming in, but it's not, challenging or negative in any way. It's a trine. So it's a very easy flowing energy. Then on the 8th, we will have the sun forming a square to Uranus. And how I look at this is the sun representing our consciousness and life force energy and Uranus ruling the electrical systems in our body. This can show up as anxiety for this day, but this can also show up as just having a lot of energetic ups and downs, like not really being able to stabilize your energy. So just a day to kind of be mindful of that. If you're having a hard time keeping that high vibe, it's just that Sun square to Uranus, it will pass. Now, on February 9th, we have our new moon in Aquarius, and that new moon is going to be squaring Uranus. So, Pluto has been a key player in the last few lunations because the new moon that we had in Capricorn was our last new moon in Capricorn with Pluto. This is our first new moon in Aquarius with Pluto. And then even the full moon we had in Leo was our first full moon in Leo with Pluto in Aquarius, which is opposite Leo. So Pluto has been, quite prominent the last couple of lunations. So this is our first new moon in Aquarius with Pluto. And this is in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine right here. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on the new moons and the full moons because I do post new and full moon videos where I go into all 12 rising signs and I also get into the chart for the moon. So make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a forecast or a horoscope. But what I do want to say about this is that when I look at the new moon charts, and because this new moon's squaring Uranus, I look at this as an imprint as to how these intentions are going to manifest. And the fact that this new moon is squaring Uranus shows that whatever is initiated at this time or whatever intentions you're setting, expect the unexpected. There's definitely going to be twists and turns and, these unexpected twists and turns that you will have to kind of navigate over the next month to 6 months. Now, on February 10th, we will have Mercury squaring Jupiter. So at this point, Mercury is in Aquarius, and I love Mercury in Aquarius for ideas and innovations. There's a lot of information coming in at this point, and Mercury squaring Jupiter can just be like an overwhelming amount of information and ideas where it can kind of bog you down. And I think we'll feel this collectively as well. And I'm going to talk about this in the collective forecast for February, but this can just be like too much information at once. Like there's too much coming in. We're not able to kind of focus. We're not able to pinpoint something. There's just a lot kind of going on mentally at this point. Now, on February 11th is when we start that North Node Chiron conjunction, which is a 2-week transit. And this is in your 8th house. This is taking place in Aries. And Aries generally represents the self and our self-identity, our ego. And so, the collective is going through something around, a collective hurt, collective ego. And so we're definitely going to, and I'll touch on this in the collective forecast, but we'll definitely see this collectively, but individually, this is where there can be, this beautiful opportunity for healing and transformation and personal growth. So you want to be paying attention to this 2 weeks throughout February, the middle of February, what is showing up for you, because this really is going to change the trajectory of your journey and direction with that North Node. I mean, this is very transformational and life-changing. So there can be massive opportunities coming up for healing and personal growth. Now, once we get to the second week of February, on the 13th, we're going to have Mars enter Aquarius and form that conjunction to Pluto. So Mars is going to, so now we have all of this energy going on in the 6th house of work, health, and daily routine. So there is quite a lot of focus on health. There's quite a lot of focus on your routines. Now, Mars forming a conjunction to Pluto already can be very volatile because we know that Mars represents anger, aggression, and conflict, but Mars is also ruling the North Node Chiron energy as well because Mars rules Aries. So there can be something, really intense showing up here around, this whole healing journey and triggers, showing up at this point. And also too, because Mars rules that 8th house of death, there could be something showing up around that. And I'm not saying, your death for you or anyone like anything like that, but it can, present itself in that way. Not that maybe somebody that is possibly going through something. This can also be very, very psychological because of that 8th house. But again, it can be very transformational. So because Pluto and both Mars rule that 3rd house of mindset, communication, and thought processing. There can be, major transformation taking place when it has to do with your mindset. I mean, this is something, and this is the thing with astrology, is that these energies are not just going to show up in one way. They're going to show up for everybody a little bit different, but there's so many different ways that this energy can manifest. And so I'm just going to what I do as an astrologer is kind of just tell you, how it can, and you apply that to your life and your chart if it makes sense or not, or what aligns with you. And so, collectively, this Mars conjunction to Pluto, I think, because Aquarius generally rules the people, the collective, humanity. I think that, the month of February, we're really going to be seeing a lot of protests and possibly riots with that Mars Pluto conjunction. With you, this could be where maybe you decide to just completely shift your mindset and focus on your health. Maybe you want to do some new nutrition. Maybe you want to start yoga every day and you're becoming laser focused. Like Pluto gives you the ability to become laser focused on something. And maybe you just have your mind set on getting healthy, becoming literally the healthiest you possibly can. And the month of February is when you decide to do that. I mean, and I'm sure for some of you, that's how this energy is going to show up. Also, keep in mind, I'm Virgo rising as well. So when I'm talking about this energy, this applies to me too. I'm a Virgo rising. So, I am relating to all of you Virgos. But that's kind of how I'm going to utilize this energy is I look at Pluto in the sixth as yes, we could get scared, like the sixth house represents health. So we could get scared like, oh, Pluto's in the sixth house, da 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 da. I'm looking at it as, you know what? I'm going to utilize this Pluto energy to become laser focused and focus on my health and try to become literally the healthiest I've ever been in my life. I'm approaching 40. So, maybe now is the time to do it. And that's how I really want to try to utilize this energy. And I'm just kind of showing you that, or, saying that just to let you know, that's kind of what I'm doing with this because I don't want none of you to be fearful or scared, especially with Mars ruling that eighth house and all of that, because the eighth house can be quite challenging and difficult. Now, also on the February 13th, we're going to have Venus form a sextile to Neptune. So at this point, Venus is still going to be in Capricorn. So we still have that ability to stay grounded, stay structured, keep our stay focused in a sense, and Venus being in that fifth house of romance, creativity, really beautiful, forming a sextile to Neptune. We can really be creating those nice one-on-one connections, romantic connections. Maybe this is where, you form a romantic connection. Maybe with that Mercury sextile to Neptune, you were talking to somebody and somebody caught your eye and you had this conversation. Now with this Venus sextile to Neptune, you're taking it one step further. I mean, I'm sure for some of you, it will show up in that way, but this can not just have to do with romantic connections. This can also have to do with creative pursuits and ventures. So it's really beautiful for, creating something and putting it on paper, because sometimes Neptune can bring things like it is a very creative, imaginative energy, but having the Capricorn energy with it is being able to truly build and create something long lasting and sustainable. So on the 14th, still in this Saturn Jupiter sextile, which I'm not going to really get into because we've at this point been in it for a month. But again, this is really beautiful supportive energy for expansion, for growth. On the 16th, we will have Venus enter Aquarius and then form a conjunction to Pluto. So now Venus is entering that sixth house. And when Venus enters the sixth house and forms a conjunction to Pluto, this can be something transformational around money and finances. This could be something changing around your belief systems because Venus rules that second house and the ninth house. This could excuse me, this could have to do, I was just thinking too, that because all this Aquarius energy is squaring the ninth, I don't know if I really recommend traveling at this time because it could show, some difficulties with travel, some unexpected difficulties and hardships, with long distance travel. So I'd be really cautious of that. But Venus forming, Venus being in the sixth house can bring more attention again to health, to routines, but also that transformational energy, that laser focused, power, intense, all that Pluto energy. And then again, we also want to be aware of how this is just naturally showing up for all of us, because this is the month where we really get that feel for what Pluto in Aquarius is going to bring. And then at the same time, on the same day that we have Venus entering Aquarius and forming a conjunction to Pluto, we're going to have Mercury square Uranus. So again, Mercury and Aquarius, lots of ideas, lots of innovations, wanting to create, wanting to, come up with new ideas and whatnot. Squaring Uranus is a lot, right? Like it's a lot going on. I mean, it's not so much like the square to Jupiter where it's like this expansion and like too much can feel bogged down, but there could be like a lot of unexpectedness. There could be, I mean, this could show up as anxiety. Whenever we have like Mercury square Uranus, Mercury is your chart ruler. So squaring Uranus can bring in something very unexpected around anxiety. Like maybe you're just struggling with anxiety this day. Mercury also rules that 10th house of career and public reputation. So there could be something very unexpected showing up around your career that you're having to navigate. And we want to keep in mind that squares bring in room for personal growth, opportunity, excuse me, opportunity for growth. So yes, squares can be, blocks, holds, and stops to something, delays, hardships. Yes, they can be a little bit difficult, but I want you to keep in mind that squares also bring in room for personal growth. So whatever is showing up at this time, as long as we're aware and we can move through it, we can grow. Now, on the 18th, we're going to have the sun enter Pisces. And just like in Aquarius season, Pisces season is going to feel different because now we have Saturn in Pisces. Last Pisces season, we did not have Saturn because Saturn entered Pisces. I can't remember. It was March 23rd when I think Pluto entered Aquarius, but it was around the same time too when Saturn entered Pisces. I can't remember if the sun was still in Pisces or not, but this essentially is going to be our first Pisces season with Saturn, even where we have like the Sun Saturn conjunction. But this is going to feel a little bit different. So pay attention. What is this bringing up for you, especially around relationships and one-on-one connections and how you connect within your partnerships. Then once we get to the third week of February, we have Venus and Mars doing a dance. So from the 20th to the 22nd, we have Venus and Mars traveling together in Aquarius. And I just want to note that when we had Venus and Mars form a conjunction in Capricorn, that's when we had the trucker convoy in Canada. Now we're having the Venus Mars conjunction in Aquarius, which literally rules the people. So I really think that we're going to be seeing, protests and people kind of standing up at this point. But for you, I mean, this is the masculine and feminine coming together. I love a Venus Mars conjunction. So this can be really beautiful for you. The interesting thing is that because Venus rules that second house of money and finances, and Mars rules, the eighth house of your partner's money and finances, this could really be when financial matters come together and unite in some way, which is really interesting. So I'm sure for some of you, it will show up, for that, like that. But that conjunction comes exact at 6 degrees and on the 22nd. Now, on February 23rd, we will have Mercury enter Pisces. So your chart ruler is going to enter your seventh house. So bringing more focus to relationships and one-on-one connections. And then on the 24th, we will have the full moon in Virgo, your full moon at 5 degrees. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I need some water. Oh, sorry. We will have the full moon on the 24th in Virgo. So your full moon. So again, I'm not going to touch too much on the new moons and full moons because I post forecasts going into the new moons and full moons. However, this full moon is in your first house. So I want you to think back 6 months prior, what were you trying to initiate at the time of the new moon in Virgo? Because this is when you can see those intentions come to fruition. Sorry, I just spilled water everywhere. I'm trying to clean it up nonchalantly. Hold on. Sorry about that. But yes, so this is the time where there can be a lot more focus on you, your direction, and also your partner, because that full moon's opposing that seventh house, right? The sun's in the seventh, the moon is in the first. So there could be a lot of focus on partnerships, one-on-one connections, relationships at this time. And at the time of the full moon, we also have Venus forming a square to Jupiter. So Venus being in Aquarius, forming a square to Jupiter. Venus in Aquarius is an energy because Aquarius, oh, sorry, I just knocked the thing. I'm just making a huge mess here. Oh my goodness. Venus in Aquarius, Aquarius has this energy of being able to like become detached like emotionally detached. There could be something here where you're able to detach from something. And I know that sounds very vague, but that's kind of what I'm feeling intuitively as well, is like there's something around, actually two, there could be something around money and finances that's becoming very overwhelming for you. And then on the 24th, we have the full moon in Virgo at 5 degrees. So this is your full moon. So this is in the first house. I want you to think back 6 months prior to the intentions you set at the time of the new moon in Virgo. Now is when you can see those intentions come to fruition. Now, again, watch my new moon and full moon forecast because I get into the chart and I get into all 12 rising signs. But this is a time period where there can be a lot more focus on you and your relationships. Now, also on the 21st, on the 24th, sorry, we have Venus forming a square to Jupiter. So this is where there can be something showing up financially that you're feeling kind of overwhelmed with. Also, Venus square to Jupiter can bring in overindulgence, and especially because Venus is ruling that second house, you want to be cautious and careful of not overspending. Spending too much money, that can definitely be a thing. So you want to be careful of that. Now, Venus also rules that ninth house of belief systems or travel or teaching or publishing. So there might be something around those themes and topics that is showing up. And remember that a square, and because it's Jupiter, it can feel there's an overwhelming feeling here, or overindulgent feeling. So keep that in mind. But remember, squares are opportunities for growth. So whatever is showing up, this can be an opportunity to heal or to move through something and grow. Then we get to the final week of February, and on the 26th, we have the Mars square to Jupiter. And this is really expansive. Like, we're definitely going to see this collectively. Individually, Mars rules that eighth house of psychological healing and transformation, mental health, your partner's finances. So this, all of those themes and topics are front and center at the time of this Mars square to Jupiter. Not necessarily that you're going to be going through all of it, but again, it shows up for all of us a little bit differently. So it could be maybe your partner is going through something with their finances. It could be maybe you going through something when it has to do with trying to get money from outside resources. It could have to do with your mental health, maybe feeling very bogged down and overwhelmed. That could definitely be a thing, right? Mars also being that co-ruler of the third house of your mindset. There could be something, around your mindset and belief systems showing up at this time. And because Mars is the ruler of that North Node Chiron energy, and and the ruler of that North Node, most importantly, is that it could be something showing up that completely changes our direction that we're heading in. And I feel like this can more be collectively, not necessarily individually, but I really feel like we're going to see something around this time collectively because Mars is the ruler of that North Node, and the North Node represents this new direction that we're moving into, like the direction where we're heading. That is new, that is unknown. So yeah, it can definitely feel intense and overwhelming at this time. Now, on the 27th and the 28th is when we have the Mercury Cazimi, but we have the Mercury Cazimi with Saturn. So Mercury is your chart ruler. And usually during Mercury Cazimis is when we get some sudden insight, inspiration, those aha moments. But we have Saturn. So really depends on, this is going to show up for all of us differently because some of us have Saturn as the most malefic planet, some of us don't. So this could be very constructive for some people. Is that the right word I was looking for? This could feel very restrictive, and this could bring delays or, not knowing how to process the information that is given at this time. This could, can feel restrictive for some people. But this can also bring in this energy of responsibility and knowing how to build with the insight that you were just given or information that you were just given or something along those lines. I hope I'm explaining this correctly. And because it's happening in your seventh house, this could have to do with a partnership, a commitment within a partnership, or a relationship. Now, on the 29th, we're going to have, and also too, I just want to mention for you Virgos, you want to know where you have your ascendant and descendant because some of these, degree points that are being activated can really bring in some amazing changes for you and your partnerships. Like there's quite a lot going on here when it has to do with you and your one-on-one connections. And then on the 29th, we're going to have Mercury form a sextile to Jupiter, and then the Sun form a sextile to Jupiter. So this is really beautiful for expansion, for growth. I really, really love this, especially to, Mercury being your chart ruler. This can bring in some amazing opportunity for, to Jupiter rules that fourth house of home, family, property, real estate, which just kind of came to me too. So this can also show up as something around home and family, like maybe something is changing within the home, or there's an amazing opportunity showing up within the home or with family, but also around belief systems and traveling or publishing or teaching, those ninth house themes and topics. But either way, this very well can have to do with relationships because it's taking place in that seventh house and Mercury is your chart ruler. So there can definitely be a lot going on at this time. And it's not, negative or challenging. It's actually quite beautiful, Virgo. So I hope that this helps you navigate the energy for February. Thank you so much for joining me. If you align with my energy and enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss a forecast or a horoscope because I do post weekly. And I will connect with you all in the next one.